I'll take a nap.
Nice.
That's how I roll. I watch the rest of the Zimmerman trial.
Ugh.
I'm on Twitter all the time with that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Did you see that some guy that wasn't really thought Zimmerman should be put in jail and he wrote an article just yesterday and said he goes, after seeing the trial now, I'm completely turned around. He goes, he's going to walk.
Which guy is this now?
He's some writer though, but he's a pretty liberal guy, and all of a sudden now he thinks, he's going to walk.
Do you think he should walk, or he just says the evidence doesn't add up?
Evidence doesn't add up. He and should and evidence adding up. It's like.
Well, I mean, just the opinion, moral. Sometimes the evidence doesn't show morally what we think.
I don't think morally he's wrong either. It's going to be a very difficult thing to go through and stuff. But from the evidence, fuck,
Will Zimmerman testify?
Not even close. No, absolutely not.
That's disgusting to me that he doesn't testify.
Well, you know what? When you watch these trials and you see how the cross-examination goes, sometimes you'd rather not be put in that position. Some people aren't very good at speaking.
But that's true.
And why would they do that when there were two witnesses and a tape and everything else, recorded video, that pretty much gets his side of the story out in his own words, from his mouth, and you can't cross-examine a fucking recording.
Because there's a couple of moments there where there's just nobody knows what happened after the call, and exactly the approached moment. All they have is Jantel's testimony.
Yeah.
All they have is her testimony implying that it was Zimmerman who said, "What are you doing around here?" or whatever.
It doesn't even imply that. She has no clue what the contact was, and quite frankly, it doesn't matter. Honestly, people think it matters. It doesn't. He was getting his face pounded in. And
how do we know who threw the first punch?
Well, and I think all the forensic evidence shows that Trayvon wasn't hit with any punch. Zimmerman's hands didn't show any injury. You got to assume that he didn't instigate the physical altercation that took place.
Was there DNA? There was none of Zimmerman's DNA on Trayvon, too, right?
No, the DNA. You know what? His body was laying out in the rain for 3 hours.
Oh,
too.
Right.
Yeah, the DNA thing, and it doesn't necessarily mean, because there's no DNA, that something didn't happen.
Sure, same with Zimmerman on his knuckles, so it's a kind of a wash there.
But this approach thing and who started what and stuff, a lot of people think that there's this thing that you have to go through. It's if you walk up to somebody and push him, right? I walk up to you, I push you in the chest. Go, hey, get at him, get out of here. And they turn around and start pummeling my fucking face in. I can defend myself.
Sure.
It doesn't, just because you pushed somebody doesn't then give them the right to beat you to the point where you feel like you're going to die without you now you can't respond to him because you pushed first. It doesn't matter. There's this equal building of aggression, of physical violence,
right,
when it becomes physical. And that's what's important. And all the evidence points to Trayvon was on top of Zimmerman, beating his face in. At some point, Zimmerman felt, I am in danger of either losing my life or of great bodily harm, pulled his gun out and shot him.
You know what I don't believe about Zimmerman? This is what I'm having a problem with. Him saying that Trayvon said, as he covered his nose and mouth, "You're going to die tonight." There's something about the phrasing of that. I simply don't believe him.
Okay.
That's, to me, It sounds like something you say that you know will cover you legally.
Right.
It doesn't sound like a thing to, especially a 17-year-old black kid. You're dead, motherfucker. Or again, like in the heat of the moment when two guys are fighting, it's just, there's something about that I'm not believing. Like a guy covering his mouth going, "You're going to die tonight." It just sounds like a movie bad guy phrase, not something a 17-year-old. It just, there's something about it, I just don't believe him. That's why I want to hear him testify. And it's, he may very well have a very believable and honest story to tell. But there's a major problem with me when you won't, especially when it's only about that incident.
Yeah.
How do you not, I know about self-incrimination, but how do you not get up there and tell your story?
Yeah, there are times you want to, other times I don't think you do. I don't think now is a good time for him to do it. He gave everything he wants to say in that videotaped statement to the police, He's also got an interview with Hannity that was submitted that the jury saw. He's got.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but shouldn't that kind of say you should testify? He didn't mind telling his story to Hannity, but he won't tell it in the court of law?
Well, Hannity's not going to cross-examine him either.
Well, you should be able, if you're telling the truth, to withstand cross-examination. If you, like, especially about something like that where it's this guy did that. If there's such a logical progression of events, his truth should be able to withstand cross-examination.
But as you're being cross-examined by a prosecutor in front of a jury, the things that they say, they're very good, they're professionals at twisting things around, making you say things, getting into subject matter you never wanted to get into in the first place just to make you look bad in front of the jury. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're guilty, but it looks bad for you in front of a jury. You don't want the jury to judge you based on some fucked up, twisted thing that a prosecutor did. So sometimes it's not worth it.
No, it's true, but I mean,
sometimes you got to weigh it out also. Is me getting my story out there more important? Does it weigh better for me than the harm that the prosecutor can do? But at least I'm telling my story. In essence, he's already done that, told his story without the risk of having to be cross-examined by the prosecutor. So they should just leave it alone. And I think they honestly will. I don't think he'll testify at all. There's no reason. That
drives me crazy. And certain times, I guess I get it.
And the judge is, when the judge gives the instructions to the jury, he tells people, that the defendant did not speak on his own behalf here has no bearing.
I know.
And do not let it have, it cannot have any bearing on whether you find him innocent or guilty. So
I'd want to talk.
Oh, I would too. Although I have heard
it's easy to say because I'm not in that situation. Not being advised and all that.
It's a very difficult situation.
Right. But I would absolutely want to tell my story in a court of law.
I think if you're being truthful and because you have your own, don't forget anything the prosecution twists, the defense can fix on cross or on recross or however the fuck whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're being truthful. If you're being truthful about a story like that where there's a logical progression of events, he said this. No, this happened first. I think you have to tell your story.
But if you already have a tape of you doing that, and he did. I mean, when he went through the walkthrough with that police officer and said, "Here's what happened," it's everything that happened. It's corroborated by witnesses that you piece together what he says in that with this witness and that, and it all fits together. Why then get up there and ruin that? You've already presented your side to the jury. So strategically, it doesn't make sense.
So they showed that in court?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
They showed him walking
the
cop
walkthrough,
actually in the neighborhood at every point that something happened.
Okay.
Here's where I did this. Here's where this happened.
See that? So that makes more sense why he wouldn't at that point.
Yeah, at that point he's done.
He is telling his story. There.
Now there's only the bad part.
Right. It could only
bite you in the ass. Yeah.
Right. I gotcha. Hold on a minute. Greg has something for you.
Greg.
Greg in Rockland County. What's up, Greg?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Pretty good.
What's up, man?
So what you were talking about before with the whole, you can push somebody, and then if they stop pummeling you, retort with the gun. My whole thing is, I hear what you're saying, but what's to stop, and this is my whole thing on this case, what's to stop somebody for starting fights with undesirables, so to speak, knowing they got that gun and knowing that's the case? So they push the guy, inevitably knowing that this punk kid, whatever, is going to push back, fight him, whatever, and then he's going to, quote-unquote, defend himself with the gun.
All right, well,
Zimmerman knew he had that gun. That was like, his ace in the hole, and he knew he had that out. He would have been a coward and not done anything had he not, probably.
No, I've heard things go both ways with that, but here's the problem. Yes, in essence, in theory, you could have a gun. You walk up to someone, you push them, you hope they fight back, to the point where you feel your life is being threatened, and then you shoot them. Now, the evidence that is on scene better corroborate that. The witnesses, any cameras that might have been around, all these things come into play where if this doesn't all add up, you're going to fucking jail. So it's not just, everyone thinks it's this one thing of, well, he pushed him, he punched him, he shot him. You know what? It better line up with all the other evidence, too. They don't just take, like when people on Twitter are saying, well, Zimmerman's got it. It's his word against the dead guy. No, it's his word against the dead guy, and it best be backed up with every other bit of evidence that's available. And there is a lot. There's ear witnesses, eyewitnesses, forensics, his statement, the 911 calls. There's all of this stuff. The post event interview with the police. All of these things have to add up. And if they don't, there's a problem. There's small inconsistencies here and there. But like one of the main lead investigators was saying, that happens with every case. Yeah. You're not going to get a story 100% right every time you're asked within a year and a half.
Let me ask you, though, in all honesty, do you believe that phrasing, "you're going to die tonight"? I'm just asking, as a guy.
I always thought, too, that sounds ridiculous.
That doesn't sound believable.
It doesn't sound believable. Again, I don't even, honestly, I don't think Trayvon was grabbing for his gun either. I don't think during the scuffle he said as they had the scuffle, he was on his back. Trayvon was straddling him. He's trying to get out from under Trayvon, and as he did it, his coat rode up a little bit and exposed his gun. And Trayvon went to grab for the gun. He grabbed at that point. No, I don't even buy that.
Are there any of Trayvon's fingerprints on the gun?
No, but he never said he grabbed the gun.
No. But if he sees the gun and he grabs it, how does he? I guess Zimmerman's lightning fast reflexes over the 17-year-old beating him up was that he stopped the hand in the dark in the rain before it got to the gun.
Yeah,
so that's why there's no prints on it.
I don't buy the he was grabbing his gun story, but I do buy the fact that this kid was beating Zimmerman's head in. And at that point, he decided, I gotta
stop.
I gotta use extreme fucking measures,
or he couldn't fight his way out.
Or I am really going to be fucked here. Yeah. So he shot him. That in essence is self-defense. This is really a very simple self-defense case. It's the politics, the racial angle, the age thing, the profiling, that all of that makes it this bigger thing. But in essence, it is, based on other self-defense cases, this one's got 1,000 times more things going for it in favor of the defendant than other ones do.
But if we agree that you don't believe that he actually was grabbing for the gun, neither do I. You don't believe that he actually said that, and neither do I. Those are two of the major qualifying points in his entire defense.
It bolsters his defense
strongly,
but it's not the qualifying point. The qualifying point is, based on the evidence, do you believe George Zimmerman had enough going on in that moment to feel that his life was being threatened? Feel, not is.
Right.
Did he feel at that moment that his life, if he didn't take the action he did, would have been threatened or great bodily harm? Yes. It's a yes. How could you say, and you don't have to be sure, you have to say to yourself, is it reasonable for me to believe that in that situation he feared for his life? Is that a reasonable assumption for you, that in that situation he feared for his life?
And that's all they have to
That's
prove.
it. That's the case. Stop with the followed him. Stop with getting out of the truck. Stop with neighborhood watch. Stop with this, that. All that other shit is for naught. It's a distraction.
Although I think I got
no, go ahead. Mine was just a simple question. How much longer is the trial?
I say the defense probably has a week. And then, they start.
And then the jury gets it?
Getting into that shit.
We're going to know the outcome within 10 days, right?
Should, yeah.
I think that stuff matters. I think even though legally it may not, a lot of times the law, there are certain laws that people get off on. I don't agree with the law side either. I mean, just as what's right and wrong.
Well, that's the jury factor. The unknown factor is you can't
as opposed to a judge who would just look at facts a little bit easier.
And you can't just punch in numbers and have this numerical, mathematically accurate answer come out. There is things like emotion, ideology, things that come into play with a jury that you just got to hope you're giving them enough facts to override all that shit. And when the judge charges the jury and gives him the crimes, secondary murder, an option for manslaughter or whatnot, he's got to let them know what the criteria is for each of those. And if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. It's It's quite simple.
It's too bad Big A wasn't sneaking around with his camera that
Surprised
night.
he doesn't have a
Big A was in that neighborhood that night.
Just sneakily filming
There he is. Wait a minute.
Zimmerman.
What did I see in the bushes? Who's that giant man with a camera?
I'll bet you one day it's going to come out that this whole thing has been a sting operation by Andrew, and he's been trying to get you. Like, he doesn't even talk with a stutter.
Yeah.
He'll be in court testifying, well, you know, I felt that Mr. Cumia's behavior was irresponsible.
Yeah.
And that's not even what he looks like. He's just wearing a monster suit. A monster suit.
He's extra mean today.
There he is. Wait a minute. Smile.
You're on. What?
Fuck.
Andrew would be great at Neighborhood Watch.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be
He would.
terrific, man. He wouldn't need a trial. He'd have everything on video, man. Everything. So are they going to give us enough time to kind of like...
Batten down the hatches.
Batten down the hatches?
Yeah, I think even in...
we haven't seen one of these in a while, right? What was the last one? OJ, or did we have one in between?
OJ
Where
never...
some shit will go down if
Well, it came out the other way, so with OJ, you know, we never know what would have happened if it... I think even if he was convicted, nothing would have happened. No one would have really cared.
Nah.
Blacks weren't really owning OJ. This one's very emotionally charged. From reading Twitter, if you go to...
No, I meant, the last one that was this emotionally charged was OJ. You're right. It worked out where...
Yeah, but you're talking the fucking big riots with the Rodney King thing.
That was the last one.
That's
right?
the last big one.
And that's almost 20 years ago now, probably.
If you read Twitter and you go to
And there was video of
hashtag Justice for Trayvon, I mean, there are people that are so wound up with absolutely no knowledge of the case whatsoever. And they're wound up saying, like, if he don't get convicted, we're rioting. I'll kill me some white people. Like, and you know, most of them are just fucking assholes, mouthing off, trolls and shit. But just the fact that there's such this justice for Trayvon. Meanwhile, how about just justice? How about justice? You know, and a jury will administer justice how they see fit based on, you know, the evidence that they know better than a lot of people do.
Did you agree with the OJ verdict? I didn't have that attitude when OJ got acquitted.
I sure thought OJ was going to prison.
People were so mad. People were so... You remember they were talking about changing the jury system?
Yeah.
There was talk about that.
Amazing.
That's how angry people were about that verdict.
And remember there was like rooms filled with just white people, rooms with black people, and the
they
reaction was
showed like the reaction
completely different.
Yeah.
Black people just cheering and white people like, huh? What? I guess I'll go back to work.
Even though it wasn't necessarily OJ they were cheering for, it was like, this is what it feels
They
like.
just fucked up that
Do you
case.
see what it feels like when it fucking works against you and it's so obvious? Almost like that's what it was. It was a much bigger thing than OJ. I don't think black people gave too much of a fuck about OJ either.
No,
and I think
but
most black people knew he was guilty. You know,
when it's a black-white thing, and even this, it's, you know, black, half white, half Hispanic thing, but they've turned it into a black-white issue.
more white people I think are on against Zimmerman. I think OJ was split almost 50-50 down the middle.
Yeah.
With people wanting. I think there's a lot of white people who want to see him convicted who are just
don't-
anti-gun.
Boy, I don't think so.
Oh,
From what I see, Jesus. But I do see just black people who cannot really look at this and think that Zimmerman was defending himself.
Right.
You know, it's and some of the wacky theories you hear from people. He should have shot him in the foot. He didn't do this. He was on top. It's obvious that Zimmerman pounded his own face against the cement. And it's like, really?
Yeah, I believe Zimmerman was getting beat up.
I think he was getting beat up. And, you know, regardless of how you feel, that's a big part of this case. So
I think his telling of it that night was panicked. Whenever he told them, "You're going to die tonight."
yeah.
Oh, you should have thought of a better one. That one
A movie line.
stinks. Oh my! You're gonna die tonight.
Your time's up, partner.
I'm surprised he didn't say that Trayvon quoted the fucking law by number. He said, "As per subsection 5, you're dead."
Oh yeah, we got to bring this into the discussion today. Zimmerman's prints weren't on the gun either.
Oh, really? I didn't even hear that. Really?
Yeah, I believe I heard that
Really?
as well. Yeah, when that gun expert was on the stand. Yeah.
Well, then how did he shoot it?
Well, let me go to Brian.
Or did he wipe it down?
I don't know. Brian, what do you know on this?
Hey, guys.
I thought I heard this as well.
Fingerprints is that neither Trayvon Martin's nor George Zimmerman's fingerprints were found on the gun, as the latent print expert testified to.
Well, how come he wasn't on time?
So how are they explaining that one?
It just said the deterioration caused by the conditions,
And the weather.
raining outside,
Wet.
and that they also, you'd think after OJ that they would have gotten better about collecting evidence. They did some simple things really wrong, like the bagging of the hoodie that, as Anthony said, might be in the Hard Rock, or Opie, I think you said might be in the Hard Rock soon.
I said that.
It was Jimmy.
No, it wasn't.
I didn't say it.
I needed Anthony.
Bad evidence.
Had to be Jimmy.
Sam.
They put it in plastic bags instead of paper bags, which apparently caused some sort of deterioration. Trayvon's fingernails weren't bagged on the scene the way they were supposed to be, so no evidence was able to be collected from that. There was really some just basic crime scene elements that they didn't do well.
Right. Okay. All right, Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
We want to go to Tucson. Rob, what's up, buddy?
Hey, guys, I'm sorry, but you got the wrong opinion on this, all right? First of all, there's a reason why George Zimmerman was never selected to become a police officer, okay? He couldn't fit the psychological profile. He couldn't play well with others. And most of all, he couldn't follow directions and a chain of command.
Could I ask you something, Rob? Wait. You can't just throw something like that out there. Where is that documentation that he failed a psych for a police test? There isn't. That isn't. Sir.
I don't have the facts in front of me.
Yeah, because that never happened. Here's another guy that never happened.
Well, that he never applied to the police department. There's a reason why the guys in the Constitution put in a well-regulated militia.
Yeah.
Because you don't have lone wolves running around
Oh,
with guns.
God. Well-regulated militia. Stop with the Second Amendment thing. I know it by heart. The well-regulated militia isn't the criteria to have guns. Having guns is the criteria for the militia. Read the fucking amendment properly.
Every fucker out there with a
Look at it. Look at it.
Go out there and get a gun and walk around. This guy was getting his.
An armed populace is the only way you can come up with a militia.
He shouldn't have been out of the car in the first place. He should have.
Doesn't matter. Static. Doesn't matter. Static. Doesn't matter. Get out of the car. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. His neighborhood. He lives there. If he wants to poke around, if he wants to snoop around like Big A and walk around his own neighborhood and follow people, do you know he is absolutely within his fucking right and breaking not one piece of a law by getting out of his car and following someone 2 feet behind him right up to their fucking door? Do you understand there is nothing illegal about that?
He chose to disregard that piece of information.
What?
Trained law enforcement not to get out of the vehicle.
No, it wasn't
That's
trained
right.
law enforcement, you dummy. It was a fucking non-emergency operator for the police department. Non-emergency, saying, we don't need you. No, it wasn't. We don't need you to do that. Has nothing to do with telling him to stand down. You people with no facts. So you're telling. So if you listen to you, here it is. He disregarded police orders to stay in his vehicle after failing the psych on a police test. You're full of lies, and you're going to be fucking directly responsible when the riots start. Because people that listen to assholes like you think that this guy should be put away based on nothing but bullshit. Read the case, dummy.
Okay. Well, if I'm the asshole, then I'm not the one on jury trial, okay? Who's the asshole who killed somebody? And now
Yeah, who's the asshole on jury trial? He wasn't arrested, if you remember, until public pressure and politics put a case in the prosecutor's hands that they can't even fucking win. So why is he arrested? Why? Political pressure and fucking interest groups. Period.
Do you know, I just got a text from a police. Hold on, sir. I got to text from a police officer. All right, sir, why would we have a discussion?
All right.
No, I just got to text from her. Oh, she's a cop. And we've been talking about this. And she said Zimmerman couldn't fist fight. He relied on a gun to make him brave. The pics I saw, he wasn't getting killed. So it comes down to he panicked because he couldn't fight. I don't know if he might have felt his life was in danger. But I do believe that's what happened. And I do believe that he panicked because he probably couldn't fight that well.
Oh,
and
good. Yeah.
I do believe that he never should have put himself in that position. He put himself in the position of a guy who really knows how to throw down because he had a gun. And even though legally he might be correct or he might be acquittable, I still think morally he was wrong because he did something that he wouldn't normally do. And then the other guy wound up getting, like, that's like me walking up to somebody in a bar and going, what the fuck are you looking at? And then poking them. Cocksucker.
No, it's not. But it's like you being in a bar, someone coming up to you and saying, are you looking at me, motherfucker? And then punching you in the face. Let's get it straight here, Jim.
We don't know that, though. But we don't know that.
We know that based on evidence, as well as we can know that. Stick to the facts. If Zimmerman went up to him and said, hey, asshole, what the fuck are you doing here? Still, by the way, doesn't make him guilty. But you're making it seem like he was the one that initiated the shit. Was he following him? I don't know. Was he watching him? Yes. Did the fucking operator tell him? Tell me what he does. Tell me what this guy does. Okay. Doesn't that assume maybe you want to keep an eye on him? Oh, are the cops here yet? No, not yet. But I'll watch, see, so I can tell the cops he's going there.
Would he have done all that?
He wasn't chasing him to fight him.
No, but would he have done all that? Well, the point I'm making is he just behaved in a way that he wouldn't have normally behaved. It's like beer muscles.
Yeah.
But he had a gun. So would he have done all that if he didn't have a pistol?
I don't know.
I mean, that's your opinion.
I don't know, but opinion-wise, with guns, it's the last thing you want to do. That's why people are like, oh, why didn't he just shoot him before he got punched? Because it's a very serious fucking thing that you don't want to do.
I would agree with you. However, he made so many 911. He was that guy.
He was.
Keith's fucking funny way of putting he was a bitch-made dude, but he's the guy who is constantly. I believe that he wanted to be a cop. He's a wannabe cop. I've been saying that since the beginning.
Which again, not a crime.
I'm not saying it's a crime.
Yeah,
but a lot of things aren't crimes, but we know what they are. Like when you by looks. You walk down the street with say interracial couples walking down the street and people look at them a certain way. You couldn't prove that in court, but we all know because we have that. Come on, we know. Zimmerman, my problem with him is this guy fucking calling all the time. He's that guy. And he did something he would not have done without the gun. I'm not saying that makes it a crime.
Following and watching
and
is all we know. We don't know about approaching.
Right, we don't.
We don't know. What has been shown and the evidence based on his injuries was that he got clocked. He didn't punch Trayvon. Trayvon punched him. Now, also, based on where it happened on that walkway, Trayvon could have fucking gone home. We talk about, oh, he should have stayed in the truck. He should have done this. Hey, Trayvon, go the fuck home. You're walking home from the store. He had plenty of opportunity to get his ass back to his fucking father's girlfriend's house, where the fuck it was. But he decided, as the defense is presented, I'll say that, to come back up and confront Zimmerman about Zimmerman following him.
Do you know a listener actually made a really interesting theory?
No, they couldn't.
I believe it or not.
Wow.
And it was something to do with what that John Tellman said. He said when she said she didn't call the cops, she was ashamed, she couldn't face his mother. The guy wrote in the theory, and again, it's just a guess. Yeah. What if she said to him, and again, like, you got to say something to him, Trayvon. You got to, like...
Oh,
like
Jesus.
A girl will sometimes do, like he's following me. This guy,
that fatty, gets him killed.
but she again, she may have.
Yeah.
That was a catfish.
Just talking shit. She may have said like, "What the fuck? You don't let him talk to you that way." Or
that crack ass motherfucker.
You better say something.
Like...
And again, I'm not blaming her, but maybe that's why she felt guilty. Like, oh my fucking god. Or maybe Trayvon said, "I'm gonna." Talk to him, and she might have said, all right, instead of saying, maybe it was something innocent, instead of saying, get out of there, go home.
Yeah.
But what did she do that made her feel guilty? Why do you feel guilty to face this guy's mother?
Yeah.
And that was a really interesting point. And again, none of that has any relation on whether or not Zimmerman's guilty, I don't think, but that might have painted a better picture.
Well, the theory could also be she heard what had actually transpired, and can't fucking lie about it very well. She's trying. You know, that's another theory you can come up with. But again, you could throw speculation all over the place. The jury wants to know what everyone knows to the best of their ability. And, you know.
Him not testifying, even though legally I know it can't hurt you, bothers me a lot in a case like this.
You think it'll bother the jury?
I hope so. Because honestly, it bothers me.
This
is not like a divorce where there's a million he said, she and like anything you say like this is fairly, if you're being honest, and I know you've told your story to the police, but it should stand up, and I think the jury has a right to want to hear you tell it, especially since there is no other guy to tell a story against you.
I think the Jeantel testimony is a good answer to this. Look, she might have, in all honesty, tried to look sincere, tried to be helpful, tried to be knowledgeable about the case. I'm sure if this is her friend, she wanted to present her side of this story in the best light possible for the prosecution.
Right.
She came off looking like a bitter, nasty, uneducated buffoon who had no respect for anyone, not the court, not the judge, not the lawyers.
And not herself.
Or herself. Yeah, big slob.
Tub.
So the thing is, maybe that's just the way it looks, you know? Maybe that's just the way she presents herself. How does that help? If as the defendant you aren't very good.
Well, because ultimately what hurts her is not any of that. It's the inconsistency in the stories. It's the lying. To me, that's what
his story has been very consistent.
No, but I know exactly.
Oh, her, yeah.
I'm saying with her, the thing that hurts her is not that she was this big fat curmudgeon, because I think people kind of get that, and the fact that she speaks average. You know, I mean, she speaks okay English, but she speaks three. She's, so I don't think it's her first language. Any of this nonsense. I think the thing that hurts her is that she told lies to the cops, or she told some lies, and that she said different things maybe in the deposition. To me, that's all that hurts her.
No, there's an attitude that comes out that like is put off. It puts you off. Like as a person sitting there and just hearing this going, I don't know, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. It puts you off. And although, like you said, you can't put your finger on, but you know it's there.
Yeah.
There's something there that isn't likable. And if a defendant is like that, even though they're trying to be honest and got that, the prosecution can bring it out and sink their case based on what? Because you're a poor speaker? You come off sounding obnoxious?
She may, though. There are people that think that made her look honest. Even though, again, like as apparently a dumbbell.
I think a lot of black people and guilty liberal white people
maybe
presented her that way because the only other alternative is she's a dummy.
Yeah, but they're even going with
kept it real.
They're even going with the fact that she is a dumbbell. It's like, is this idiot gonna concoct a brilliant lie? Like, this dunce is basically just, she's a big fucking curmudgeon. She hates it. But this is pretty much what she heard. Because if she was concocting a lie, she wouldn't have said, I heard wet grass. Now, we know what she meant. She heard, like, the scuffle on wet grass. But you think somebody coming up with a lie would have come up with a more articulate or better one. That's not a very... She's saying something that hurts Zimmerman's case, I think. But she's not telling this genius home run of a lie. So there is something in that may make her seem like she's being truthful, despite the fact that she's kind of a hateable monster.
Yeah.
Which I found her to be hateable.
Yeah,
however, I don't know how much I disbelieved her, other than the fucking lies that she told, like, about being his girlfriend. That I was, that's tough to reconcile.
But again, regardless, as an ear witness, which is what she was up to a certain point of this altercation, it's a lot of speculation. Again.
But wouldn't his testimony, if he said, no, that's not what I said, I was responding to Trayvon, wouldn't that help so much a jury to go, oh, okay. Like, say she is believable. Let's just say for that reason they think, all right, she's a kind of a cunt, but I think she was telling me the truth. That Zimmerman approached, and, hey, what are you doing around here? And that may weigh on their emotions. Wouldn't it help a little bit if he said, no, that's not all what happened. He jumped out of the bushes and said, why the fuck are you following me?
He says all that in the video. And it's not just somebody saying what his statement was. It's him on the video saying those things. And again, it keeps him from opening up to cross-examination.
I didn't realize, honestly, I didn't realize they'd walked him through at the scene.
Twice. That's amazing.
Let's go to Eric in Colorado. We got time for one more. Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Yo.
Morning, boys. Hey, Anthony, got a question for you.
Yeah.
So let's keep our emotions and our blood pressure in check here for a second. Okay. I have been through the Neighborhood Watch program here in Colorado. I've also been through the Citizens on Patrol program, which was a secondary program they wanted him to go through.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, I've noticed in everybody you have talked about and commented about on the witness stand, you have never mentioned the very first witness who was the person who trained him in the Neighborhood Watch program, and she on the stand said he violated the training, which states specifically, and I just went through the training for the fourth time. I go every 2 years. I just went in March.
Right.
And they tell you explicitly, under no circumstances whatsoever, unless you are directed by law enforcement, do you follow anyone. You observe, report, you stay in your home, and unless somebody's life is in imminent danger, you do not do anything.
Well, then I guess he's in trouble with the Neighborhood Watch people. But again, as far as...
Anthony, that's the part that you have ignored, that he violated where...
Yeah, he violated the rules of the Neighborhood Watch. How does that interfere with a murder 2 case?
Because that is the part what people are picking up on when they say that he ignored... And I don't think people are realizing this, that this is one of the things they're picking up on but missing, is that's what you're trained to do, and that you don't do this. And this is what he did, and this is part of what I think people are picking up on when they say, well, he shouldn't have been falling and he should have stood down.
Can I jump in for a second? Anthony's completely right, but what you're saying, Eric, that could influence the jury, certainly, all that stuff.
When I just went through this class in March, and they did not bring up the Zimmerman trial, but as the cop who taught the class that we went through, he stated, he says, if we find out that you followed someone and confronted someone, you're going to be arrested, and you're going
for what? For what?
Well, that's crazy.
Wait. For what? Why would they arrest somebody?
That's crazy.
For a policy on a Neighborhood Watch that it doesn't have anything to do with any. If you follow somebody, what's the charge?
On it is if you follow someone and you confront them, and it goes beyond words, you're going to be arrested until everything is sorted out.
Yeah, beyond words. So you're talking about if you walk up to somebody and hit them, you're going to jail. Well, I got to agree with you.
Right, and that's where this.
And then they'll sort it all out.
Yeah,
right. And
you're
that's
not.
Where this is. I think part of this is coming into being with this. Believe me, I'm looking at this from both sides. I've been head of a Neighborhood Watch. I've been head of a homeowners association. I still am, because one of the things.
You're so involved.
I know, isn't he? Very civic-minded.
But Zimmerman was allowed to follow him and all that stuff if he chose to. But I think, to your point, Eric, that I believe some of that will influence the jury.
It might, but it's not supposed to.
No, I know. The judge is going to give her rules or whatever. But
by the way,
you can't help but be influenced by something.
By the way, sir, he was on his way to the store. He wasn't even working his Neighborhood Watch at that time. He was going to the store, and as he was driving out of his neighborhood, when he was leaving, he saw Trayvon and decided, well, you know what? This guy doesn't look like somebody that really belongs right here, right now. And this, he resembles a description of people that have caused trouble in this neighborhood before. Let me call the cops, and then I'll.
That's where it should have ended. Let me call the cops, report what I saw, and go on about my way.
So you're a little overzealous in wanting to keep an eye on this guy to see, so when the cops show up, you could go, yeah, he's right there, instead of calling.
I've done it.
What?
I've done it myself. There's times where I've been leaving for work at 2:00 in the morning, and I've seen a suspicious vehicle, and the most I have done is I'll call the cops.
Well, great. I hope you could sleep well too. If you found out that same guy, you called the cops and then just scurried off to work. If the same guy murdered somebody in a house and you were like, if I would have caught him and or watched him go into a window, I could have run him over with my truck, anything. But I'm just saying, I know it's a little much, but I'm just saying, to keep an eye on somebody that you've just called the police on at some type of distance isn't isn't a bad thing.
Why? Then that's the point right there. From some distance, that's where it comes into being that he never should have gotten out of his vehicle.
Why? He's not a fucking zombie. It's Trayvon. He's walking around the neighborhood. Why wouldn't you walk down the sidewalk and go, maybe the guy's over here? And so if the cops show up, you go, yeah, he's there.
Then it comes back to the point of you don't follow someone, you don't confront them.
Well, like I said, then you could throw him off the fucking neighborhood watch, but it certainly isn't a murder 2 fucking conviction.
By the way, can I interrupt this guy?
Breaking his rules.
I love the people. I love the people on Twitter who are like, stick to comedy. You don't understand the law.
Yes, Jim.
I'm listening to these dumb motherfuckers that call in. No disrespect to you, sir. But, like, I love these guys out there that think they have such legal backgrounds. It's like, where have I been so off on I'm admitting, the only difference between me and a lot of other people is if I don't know something or if Ant makes a point, I go, okay. I'm not so married to something that I'm going to argue blindly through it. And believe me, what I'm saying is not crazy. The jury is going to think the exact same things I'm saying. They're not.
Exactly.
What do you think? They're not going to consider?
Of course they're
going to.
Hey, Frederica Bimmel's on the stand right now.
And the judge is going to give her directions, but they're going to still fucking, it's in their heads.
That's
they're people in there with
factor.
human emotions. Thank you, Eric. We got to move on to Steve.
By the way, that jury thing is that unknown factor that you don't know which way it's going to swing. Either he can be put in jail. And that's why in self-defense cases, when the police on scene and a grand jury deems that it was self-defense, you don't have to put somebody through this where they think perhaps my freedom will be taken away, because a jury is a kind of a coin toss sometimes, that when there is a legitimate self-defense case that the police investigators and even a grand jury, if it goes to grand jury, deem it's self-defense, it doesn't go to trial, that is still a just decision. It doesn't always have to go to a jury.
What is the least he could get, Zimmerman?
The least, even with manslaughter, it's 15 years, and then with a aggravated because he's got a gun, it's 30 years.
Wow.
So he could do 30 years under a manslaughter charge. I don't even think manslaughter fits this, to be honest with you.
And they can't
think manslaughter
They can't give him anything less than manslaughter?
They could go involuntary, like you would if you're driving your car and you fucking, you know, slip on some oil and crash into some kid or something.
You think they give him something lesser just to kind of...
No.
Falcon doesn't know how to feel about this.
No.
Falcon is up in the air.
All right.
Falcon isn't sure.
Let's go to Steve. He's a black guy.
Right.
I only say that for the discussion purposes here, Steve.
I'm sure we can tell with the first couple of words, Opie. It's okay.
Well, it says, I'm a black guy who spoke about Paula Dean and that word with Anthony recently.
Here's how you know he's a black guy.
Steve?
If his first words are, Anthony.
Exactly.
Or Anthony.
Sir?
Hello,
Anthony.
sir.
Well, Anthony. Hi, guys.
What's up, man?
I did speak to you about Paula Dean and the word nigger. And
I remember your voice.
Yeah.
yeah, sure. Look, I just want to put my spin and my take on Zimmerman. My belief is, and again, I do have a legal background, so I'm not going to kind of throw that in your face.
Being on that side of the bench doesn't really...
Well, I just want to get, again, my perspective. I believe the prosecution put on a very shoddy case. They didn't properly vet witnesses in this case. They certainly didn't prepare them for testimony. They didn't challenge witnesses who changed their testimony, and they didn't develop a theme, a prosecutorial theme.
Right, that's one of the biggest things. But do you think it's shoddy prosecution work, or the fact that they just didn't have a case?
No, it's shoddy prosecution work. You do not let a witness take the stand as totally unprepared, for example, as a medical examiner did, as totally unprepared.
That guy was great.
As Gentile did. It might have been great from your perspective, Anthony, but it certainly wasn't.
Just thought it was funny.
Well, it might have been funny, but it certainly wasn't great in terms of securing any type of justice. You know, what we have here is a situation
Failure to communicate.
that really should never have happened. And if you want to look at some of the facts of the case, Zimmerman spoke mistruths throughout the investigation. He initially denied having knowledge of the stand your ground law,
and that was proven. Hold on, we'll take this one at a time. That was disproven by the actual teacher that said the words "stand your ground" were never used in the class. They were trying to pin it.
He knew exactly what that. Come on.
Don't say you can now say he knew exactly. The case, they asked the witness They asked the witness, did you ever use the words stand your ground while talking about self-defense in the class that George Zimmerman was in? He said no. And then they went to the Hannity report where Zimmerman says, I didn't even know what stand your ground meant.
He's a neighborhood watch guy. He's familiar with legal terminology. He's familiar with contemporary.
You can't say this.
Exactly what it was.
Wait, can I ask you a question? What does, sir?
The second one, he lied about.
Hold on, sir, hold on. One thing is not. Do you know what is the stand your ground law?
It's the Castle
Doctrine.
No.
Without the meaning. Because this guy might be right. You both might be right in a weird way. If he can't, like, say that he didn't know the term stand your ground, did he know what the law said? Because he may be hinging on a technicality. I didn't. Let's say you don't know the term DUI. I don't know the technical term DUI, but I know I can't drunk drive.
Yeah.
You still know what you can and can't do.
Exactly. He knew right from wrong.
By the way, this was the prosecution's attempt at tripping up Zimmerman on his facts, that on Hannity's show, he said, I had never even heard stand your ground before. And they're trying to say, like, aha, you did hear. That's what they're trying to get. All the story, the whole thing about the shooting, the fight, the car, the following, the 911, all those things. And they had to dig to one word of a Hannity report and try to trip them up on that to say, you did know about it, let's bring your teacher in here, which they did. And the teacher's like, hey, you fucking, I never used the words.
Anthony, that's stretch. Let's move on to the second lie that he said.
Yeah.
He claims that Trayvon jumped out of the bushes.
Yeah.
There were no bushes. There was a schematic that was put into evidence and photographs, and there were no bushes. So obviously that was a lie. Trayvon did not jump out of any bushes.
All right.
He tried to get the impression that he was somehow set upon in a very surprising fashion.
He came.
That did not happen. That's a lie.
Trayvon came out of the pathway between the two townhouse rows.
The pathway is not the same as bushes. And Zimmerman was very specific when he said that. He did that to create a false scenario, to try to set up a surprise scenario where he can argue justification. And that just isn't the case. That's an outright lie. The third lie, he said, was that, and again, there were eyewitnesses, both who were supportive of the prosecution and supportive of the defense in terms of the actual physical altercation. And Zimmerman claimed that this skinny 17-year-old kid grabbed him by the nose, covered his mouth, and that was bullshit, too. That never happened. No one said
How do you know?
No one
saw. The only person that.
And that concept, that is totally ridiculous. That is what Zimmerman was trying to do was trying to create a life and death scenario.
The only person that saw any of the altercation was Jonathan Good. His testimony is pretty right there on line with what Zimmerman was saying. And no one saw the whole thing. No one saw the whole thing.
And even Jonathan Good.
And there were bushes, Kenny? Yes. I can't keep track of all the things. Could you turn Kenny's mic on?
He's good.
Sir, this club soda, Kenny. Kenny?
Mister, let me interject this. There were bushes around the air conditioning units and at the end of the buildings.
Okay, there.
There were no bushes where the altercation occurred. None. I mean, and again, that's a stretch. To say that there were bushes in close proximity to the incident was false. that just was not the case. And that was.
Mister, were you there? Were you there, Mister?
Were you there, Kenny? No, I'm just trying to be reasonable. I'm just trying to.
Don't answer a question with a question.
I know I wasn't there, and you wasn't either.
How do you know?
Come on, Kenny, too, please.
Kenny might have been. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know me.
Well, Kenny, you have jurisdiction in Florida as an ex-cop, ex-New York City police officer? No, you don't. So you wasn't.
You suppose a lot of things, mister.
Sir, all I'm saying is, with the evidence that has been presented, in the way it's been presented, well, you know what? What? I mean, no, it's not shoddy. The prosecution used what they had to work with.
Yeah, but the prosecution did not properly vet and prepare.
Properly vet and prepare.
in high-profile murder cases.
Because they don't have the witnesses that they need. They don't have the forensic evidence that they need.
But you work with what you have. You don't let them go on unprepared. I mean, the medical examiner was embarrassed.
Well, the medical examiner was, I think he was retarded, quite frankly.
Exactly.
All right, exactly.
What happened?
All right, I'm still going off on this guy. I'm pissing now, too.
Me and Jimmy have the
we literally, I had to piss. I can only wait, and I was enjoying this back. I literally couldn't wait, and I didn't want to, here was end the call.
It's such a big case. Yeah.
The basic tenet of self-defense in any jurisdiction is that you are permitted to use the type of force equal to the force that is presented to you, that you're dealing with.
Oh, yeah?
Engaging in a fist fight does not, under any circumstance, warrant the use of deadly.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. You're telling me no one's ever died from a fist fight, sir? You're telling me no one's ever died by having their head beaten against concrete, sir? Is that what you're saying? So,
the evidence shows that
yes, the evidence shows that his head was being hit.
No, the injuries that were sustained by Zimmerman were superficial.
So, dude,
minor. He didn't even get any money. He received medical attention. He didn't need medical attention.
Can I ask you something? Can I ask you? Let me ask you a question. What is the criteria for injuries being that they then justify using deadly physical force? What injuries are needed?
It's not a matter of injuries.
What injuries are needed?
Was your actions reasonable?
What injuries are needed? You know what the answer is? I'll give you the answer. None. You don't need any injuries in a self-defense case. None.
You don't, but your actions have to be reasonable.
And you can reasonably tell me that he felt his life was not in danger at any moment?
He was in a fist.
Stop it. You weren't there. He was there. If he felt his life was being threatened.
He was an experienced watchman. So what are we talking about?
Stop it.
This is not, come on, you stop it, Anthony. Put it in perspective. He misprofiled this guy.
Misprofiled?
He misprofiled, yes.
Race, here we go. Racial profile. There it is. There it is. And I've once again exposed another black man as a fucking racist. I'm out. Thank you.
Do you have to pay?
Always bring race into it. Always bring race into it.
He was wrong about the guy. Wait, that's why he stopped him.
How do you know he was wrong?
How
do you know he was wrong?
About Trayvon.
How do you know? Really? What was in Trayvon's backpack in school? 7 pieces of stolen jewelry. Thank you. He was a thief. He was a fucking thief. 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 He did not have a scholarship. He was suspended. There was no scholarship. No scholarship.
No criminal record. He had no criminal record.
He had stolen 7 pieces of jewelry.
So did
they were in his
Lohan.
backpack. Yeah, who cares?
It doesn't matter.
All right, Steve.
So if Lindsay Lohan's walking through your neighborhood, you can follow her too.
Please do.
I guess we're going to have to agree to disagree, Steve.
I agree with Steve.
Asshole.
Right.
Thank you. Before Steve goes,
all right, Steve.
You made some great points, I think, Steve. And you.
How do you know? You were in the bathroom with me.
No, I know, but it's so funny that Anthony's not here now, so Steve can just say what he wants.
All right, Steve, go ahead.
All right, guys. Thank you,
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, man. Later. Bye-bye. All right, we're going to take a break.
I thought it would have been very interesting to give Steve a few minutes without, and just
He
to hear.
gave up.
Yeah,
we would have gave him the floor.
But it was. It's an interesting case, and I honestly, I don't know how 100% how to feel. I don't I feel one way, and then I go. I think, well, I go back and forth with it.
Well, you can't convict him for being a douche.
No,
that's the problem.
No. But I do think that he did some shady shit.
That's what. Yeah, but you can't convict him.
Well, Falcon thinks so.
I don't. No.
Falcon just thinks that Falcon thinks Zimmerman do bad.
Who's Falcon? I don't even know who Falcon is.
Falcon?
Has he been on the show?
Sure, Falcon shows up once in a while.
Who is
Falcon thinks Zimmerman do bad.
Who is he again?
Falcon's just a man who does right.
Man who does right.
That's right.
All right.
You know Falcon?
No. You rock, play something.
The Opie and Anthony Show. The Opie